Hello and welcome. Today's political representatives are subservient order followers, unquestioningly taking directions from a corporatocracy of psychopathic mobsters, regardless of the morality or the legality of those orders. They do this at the escalating detriment of those who elected them into office. These illegal orders stem from a cult of supreme evil that is wreaking unprecedented ecocide and horrific suffering and death throughout the entire world. This ongoing global carnage could not take place without the knowing complicity of the order followers, which includes all groups and individuals from the highest echelons of government down to local councillors and shire administrators. To quote Gandhi, "You assist an evil system most effectively by obeying its orders and decrees. An evil system never deserves such allegiance. Allegiance to it means partaking of the evil. A good person will resist an evil system with his or her whole soul." Ignoring this basic tenet fully immerses the unquestioning order follower into the cult of evil. Their moral compass loses direction while human values degrade in tandem with personal integrity and the ability to recognise truth. A clear example of this is the Dandaragan Shire Council uncritically accepting the blatant lies and disinformation of the shale gas mining companies, the low-life frackers. They do this in reckless disregard of the massive body of factual evidence, appalling case histories and abundant witness testimony repeatedly proving how polluting, dangerous and irreparably destructive this process really is. Not one single councillor raised objection to the demonstrable lies and deception so nauseatingly spoon-fed at the Badgingarra Community Hall meeting. Blind obedience to any such authority results from a diseased mind that is terminally infected by this all-pervasive cult of undiluted evil. The same moral myopia applies to the dumping of the neurotoxic, hazardous industrial waste of hydrofluorosalicylic acid, labelled fluoride, into public water supplies. They commit this monstrous crime against humanity under the patently absurd pretext of its strengthening teeth. This moronic baloney is deeply offensive to all critical thinkers. Drinking neurotoxic poison results in nothing but serious health impairment to the human population and long-term irreversible damage to wildlife and the environment, where over 90% of it accumulates and progressively amasses permanently. The global assaults of fracking, fluoride, exacerbated by the intensifying chemtrails, amount to calculated genocide on the most massive scale imaginable. Sentient life on Earth cannot exist without clean, unpolluted water, which is now globally under the most perilous threat ever. Water is life. It is sacred. Never in history has there been a situation as grave as what we currently face from this all-enveloping cult of evil. This ever-worsening circumstance is perpetuated by those who blindly follow orders, or, as with the Dandaragan Shire Council, openly indulge willful ignorance in the face of overwhelming truth, disproving the lies. Anyone putting on a military or police uniform immediately becomes an integral part of this system of evil. They accept and unquestioningly obey immoral and manifestly illegal orders that perpetuate global genocide and environmental devastation. They refuse to accept the blindingly obvious fact that they are destroying their own future along with all hope for future generations. These servants of darkness include all politicians, government apparatchiks, administrators and office bearers, right down to filing clerks. In fact, anyone doing anything in government employ is, albeit either knowingly or unsuspectingly, deeply enmeshed in a web of maliciously destructive and all-pervasive evil. Elected representatives cannot fail to recognise the rigid system of coercion that unfailingly bends any opposing position to party line criminality, regardless of personal convictions or of the community views. It callously dismisses the hopes, aspirations, and the serious concerns of those who put them into office. Instead of providing authentic representation, they become paid professional liars, held in place to maintain the threadbare illusion that the people's voice matters to crime gang government. Well, it doesn't, and it hasn't for many decades. In fact, public opinion is treated with contempt by these criminals, a contempt now openly flaunted through ignoring national and international law. And this is to say nothing of the ongoing mass murder through the suppression of proven natural cancer cures. The public has no influence whatsoever regarding the political process or consequential decision making, plus it makes no difference which party shill gets into office. They obsequiously follow orders, as always, with any semblance of lawful process insultingly reduced to a theatre of the absurd. Every aspect of the political spectrum is unconditionally compromised into corrupt subservience to the omnipresent system of evil, wherein it's up to each individual to take a long, hard look at the consequences of their actions, or, perhaps more frequently, what arises as a result of their inactions. Increasingly, ever more government employees are intimidated or frightened off speaking out for fear of victimisation, harassment or job loss. However, not speaking out against evil is acquiescence, because silence is always interpreted as consent. This then begs the question, what sort of society emerges when people fear government? Can we have authentic freedom of speech when all aspects of journalism are prohibited from reporting truth? Is it acceptable that all current affairs and news reporters are compelled to convey corporate scripted, propagandized disinformation in order to stay employed? Well, the question is of course rhetorical, but the answer demands careful scrutiny. Because if this increasingly oppressive totalitarianism continues unchecked, the consequences are unthinkable, and it must be realised that these horrific consequences will also be inevitable. Isn't it provocation enough that these government criminals relentlessly poison your water with neurotoxic fluoride, pollute your air with heavy metal aerosol sprays, including nanoparticulate matter from chemtrails, while seeking to permanently destroy all water reserves and the environment with the eco-terrorism of fracking? Take note, these incontestable crimes are happening right now in a government-driven assault of unprecedented scope and ever-expanding dimension. Adding insult to injury, they even extort money from the public to pay for these crimes via the blatant fraud of national debt and their criminal system of debt slavery. Anyone unquestioningly following orders or not challenging what they know to be wrong are complicit in this cult of evil. This applies most especially to elected representatives who stand front and centre in terms of culpability. In the combined assaults of water fluoridation and fracking, all government employees are inextricably complicit in crimes against humanity and should give careful consideration to liability exposure. That said, it's too late for the grasping politicians who understand perfectly well the extent of their betrayal but continue with their active subservience to evil anyway. The saying that the devil takes care of his own probably doesn't indicate any measure of enjoyable reward, any recompense from the pit of darkness they are richly deserving of and very welcome too. Perhaps they should keep in mind the karmic axiom that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. A time of reckoning will come, and be assured none shall escape its reach, most especially treasonous politicians. From a personal perspective, I find it difficult to keep above hating these vicious, malevolent, criminal scum. That certainly they deserve nothing less. But knowing that hatred is one of the most corrosive emotions galvanizes a conscious effort to carefully avoid that downward spiral. That's not always easy, but thankfully, so far, I'm managing. Just thank you for watching.